You've probably heard this term smart contracts, but do you really know what it is? Well, today we have Imad Zahir with us, who is a pro blockchain developer and advocate. He will tell you all about smart contracts. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Ifi Khan, heading the ecosystem growth at Vanar. Vanar is a layer 1 blockchain, and we have launched an initiative to empower and educate the next generation of blockchain developers all across the globe. We host seminars, webinars, competitions at universities, incubation centers, co working spaces, you name it. And we have an amazing community of Web3 enthusiasts who can help you in your journey. So, without further ado, Imad, over to you.
I thought we all thought that smart contracts is a concept that people want more attention on or want more information on. So we have designed this for you. So let's start. Uh, I've been a blockchain developer for 2 years now, and I've been working with smart contracts mostly. So evolution of the web, I was talking about it that first we used to have only read-only pages like Wikipedia, and we couldn't interact. We couldn't publish our content on the internet at first. Uh, then came Web 2.0. Web 2.0 means the current web. At the moment, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everyone's an influencer. People want to publish their content. And but the problem with Web 2 is that you don't own your content. Sometimes that particular website or organization that is in control can remove your content because you don't particularly own it, right? Sometimes YouTube says that you have violated their community guidelines. Sometimes Instagram can remove your content. So Web3 is powered by distributed ledger technology, right? Like blockchain technology. So what happens here is that whatever you publish is your own. Like you own it. You can do the same things that happen in Facebook, Instagram, etc., but you own the content that you publish. And you can also see whatever is happening with the content. You can see all the history, track all the history, but other people can also see it. So this improves transparency and gives you more control and more ownership over the content, right? So let's move on to the next slide. So what is a contract basically? A contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more parties. Initially, when we talk about it historically, it's kind of like a promise. But over the years, we can see that people sometimes do not deliver on their promises, right? So that is why a contract is needed. And for a contract, we need some party that enforces that contract. That party can either be the law, they can be a group of people who are witnesses. It can also be your friends, right? So that is how the foundation of trust is built into a contract because you clearly define all the terms of the contract. You explain everything, who needs to do what are the roles, and that is how a contract is enforced. So let's move on to the next slide. So the need for contracts is that first people used to have witnesses for everything, but then the situation changed. Sometimes you had a witness or a group of witnesses and they wouldn't be available at the time when you needed them. And therefore, you need something much more robust, right? And sometimes you couldn't gather witnesses because obviously people value their time. They always want an incentive that even if you want us to be your witnesses, we want something in return, right? So there is a lack of witnesses, like we have this problem. Plus, when we promise something to someone, there can be bad actors. Some people can influence the participants of that contract, and like maybe they can put fear into their minds. Maybe they can brainwash them somehow. Like this has happened before, and this can happen. So for their personal benefit, people started manipulating these contracts, right? So, and then even if your contract is backed by central authorities, uh, we do need some kind of authority that enforces the contract, but sometimes central authorities can also be problematic. If they promise something, and by central authorities, I mean governments or some other institution that is centralized, that has power over, for example, your money or something else that you have included in your contract. Okay, so sometimes we cannot trust them, and we do need some kind of proof to show that uh, something belongs to us. For example, let me give you an example. When the World War came out, people only had one thing to show that they owned property, and that was the papers that they had. So if they lost those papers after a country conquered another country, they used to think that you don't own any land over here. So they used to confiscate that land because you couldn't provide your papers, right? But so the problem is those papers were also a form of a contract that showed that this property belongs to me. But obviously, there are some issues. You only have one copy, and that is why it can be altered, it can be removed, it can be confiscated from you, and you do not have any other kind of proof. So we really had to, humanity had to evolve contracts in order to prove something, right? So proof of ownership, sometimes it's also a proof of service, that I did this particular thing for you, and I need money for it. And the other party could just say, no, where's your proof? Have you really done this for me? I don't remember that. But if you have proof, if you have witnesses, then obviously you can prove it to them and to the law and to other people that yes, I did this. So also contracts are used to put clarity and to make parties agree before they start the actions listed in the contract. So let's move on to the next slide.
Yeah, and before we move on, I guess just an informal kind of example that kind of ties in or factors in all of these, ये जहाँ पे भी mention है ये सारे. So is marriage, right? And I think Imad gave me this example a while back, and it fits in perfectly, right? So for marriage, for nikah, in the Muslim religion, anyways, you need witnesses, right? And they have to be usually someone close to you, or they don't have to be, but I mean, usually it is like a बाप जाता है, भाई बहन जाते हैं, ये सारे जाते हैं. But again, it could be friends or anybody, but there has to be witnesses. But those witnesses can again be like, bought as well. Forceful marriages are happening, or unlawful marriages, underage marriages are happening. All of this is happening because of bad actors. There is like, uh, uh, a nikah nama, so to say, a marriage certificate that is your proof. But again, if it's in paper form, it can get lost. So the solution right now is usually that you get registered at Nadra, right, at a central authority that, okay, we got married. And so even if you lose your Nikanama, then you can go to that central authority, and that authority can actually prove that, you're married. But again, if a war happens or something happens and that department, the centralized department dissolves, then again the same problem happens, that you have no proof that you're married, and lack of clarity and agreement is, I think, pretty simple. In terms of what happens when you get divorced, how much money does the other person get, all that kind of stuff is then part of the agreement or whatnot. Go on.
Yes. Okay. You just talked about marriage, and here are two pictures. The left one is about marriage. It's from ancient Egypt. And this language is a bit hard to understand because this paper has been preserved and it's very ancient Egypt. So this is a marriage contract. When we talk about the history of contracts, so people used to write on leaves at that time because paper wasn't yet invented. So contracts have started from leaves. Sometimes they used to write on stones and tiles. And later on, when paper was discovered and people started writing with ink, and then came digital printing. So the left one is a marriage contract, and the right one is from, I would say, it's written over here, 1951. So this is a land registry contract. I'm sure most of us have seen these type of contracts. They're the same because our parents and their parents registered land the same way. And these are the papers that they have to show in order to have a claim onto that land. So now we're talking about the future of the contracts. Those papers, like I gave an example, those papers, if you lose them, it's a big headache. Maybe the government might support you if you want to go and get those papers again. Maybe it won't, because the government also used to store it in paper form, right? So what if they do not have enough copies? What if the government is dissolved or something, some mishap happens, right? So a better way to do it is to have digital contracts. I'm sure most of you have seen something like this, especially when employment contracts are signed. They are usually signed digitally like this. And it's more secure compared to paper contracts because you can have multiple copies of it onto different onto different storage devices like your phone, your laptop, even on the cloud. So it's hard for you to lose something like this, but it's not exactly foolproof. Why? Because you are signing it the same way that you sign on paper, right? So some bad actors can copy your sign, and they can do something wrong with it. Maybe they can put that sign on some other document which you did not mean to sign, right? Plus, there is no integration of payment systems into these type of contracts. These type of contracts can list some payment procedures, but you'll have to do them yourself. There's no claim that you can make that, yes, it has been done, right? So that is why we need smart contracts. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, we need smart contracts for that. Now, smart contracts, in this example, this is a smart contract that can be deployed onto the Vanar network. And smart contracts were introduced in 2015 by Ethereum. So, and Vanar works exactly like Ethereum. So this is a language called Solidity, and it's a programming language. And you write your contracts in the form in this code form, right? So this picture over here, this code snippet, it's a token contract, a cryptocurrency contract, right? So cryptocurrency has its features, and also it is kind of a contract, right? So when you send someone any tokens, any amount of tokens, it is a contract because yes, one person sent the tokens and another person or another party received those tokens. So yes, this is how a contract works. But now this digital smart contract also has the payment system integrated in it, right? Tokens can be sent directly instead of making it an external thing like I showed you in the previous example. So the features of a smart contract are that it's self-executing. Once you write the logic, it's immutable. It cannot be hacked. It is transparent. It's backed by blockchain technology. That is why it is transparent. And once the blockchain has achieved consensus that this particular action has been performed using this smart contract, it is sent to all the nodes distributed that have the network distributed, right? So all those nodes store the same copy, and that is why it is very hard to tamper it. It's tamper proof. It's immutable, which means it cannot be changed. The history is always maintained. History can never be deleted in a blockchain network. So this also means that intermediaries can be removed when you have to sign up for a contract. Traditionally, in Pakistan, what you do is that you get a stamp paper, right? So you have to buy that paper first, and then you have to write on it. You have to involve lawyers. You also have to pay for the people who help you with it, right? So that's additional cost. But these contracts are very cheap, and two parties can have this contract and even involve money in it, and the contract will automatically handle it for them. They don't have any headaches. They don't even have to trust anyone. So this contract is going to execute all by itself. So it makes this system very secure. And even anonymous participants, let me tell you something. When we talk about blockchain, to interact with a blockchain, you do that through smart contracts, right? And you need a blockchain wallet for it. So when you have a blockchain wallet, it's just a hash. It's a random number 0x4abc. It's like that. So you can stay anonymous and you have to still follow the rules. So if your wallet needs some permission, that those permissions can be added before deploying the smart contract to the network. But if there are some permissions that have to be given to specific people, and there are some rules that have to be followed by all the people and all the participants that come and interact with the smart contract, they will still have to follow those rules, even if they are anonymous. So that is the power of this technology. Plus, it's decentralized, and most of these contracts are powered by the community, which means if a project is completely decentralized, then whatever the community votes for, those changes and those features are added into these smart contracts. So this is a very powerful thing. And there are many examples that I will give. I'll give you those examples at the end. If we can move towards the next slide. So a smart contract, the way it works is that first you write all the logic and you deploy the smart contract onto the blockchain network, right? For example, you've deployed it on Vanar. Then the smart contract has the ability to hold and transfer value. It can do it by itself. Sometimes you need permissions for it, and sometimes a group of people approve transactions. That basically depends on the way you customize your contract, right? So if you have written that, for example, one person has given a loan to another person, and there's a period of 1 year in which that person has to return that loan, and there's a collateral that the receiver of the loan has placed onto the contract in the form of tokens, that if I am unable to return the loan, you can just take this money instead, right? So the contract will automatically execute all that business logic and do it all by itself. Even if that person in the future is not willing to, give the collateral, instead of repaying the loan, he has nothing that he can do, because the contract is robust. The contract is everything is very secure and final in it. So the contract will automatically execute. And since it is backed by the blockchain technology, the distributed ledger technology, so all the actions are stored over there, and people can just look over there, look at the history and verify it from there. So this is how a smart contract actually works. So let's move on to the next slide. Some of the use cases that are being widely used these days is that smart contracts are used for loans. They're used for escrow accounts. Escrow is basically loan. I know everyone knows what a loan is, right? So escrow is something when you have to make payments for something and multiple parties are involved. So if you want the money to not be used for a specific time period before certain conditions are met, then that money is stored in the escrow account. For example, let me give you an example. When you want to invest into property in UAE, the UAE government, what it does is that they allow the person to give installments, those payments that they do on installment for a particular flat or some particular apartment, right? And that money is being stored in an escrow account. So by the time the installments have completed, then only the builder can receive that money. They cannot receive the money before those installments have been completed and the property has been transferred towards the person who wants to buy it and has been paying for it, right? So that is how an escrow works. Then comes staking. Staking is something that is done by when you provide liquidity for a particular asset. You provide, for example, if I want to provide USDT, the token USDT, I'm sure most of the people have heard about it. The USDT token, if I want to provide that token to a particular exchange, I will stake that token, right? And that exchange might have some rules that we're going to lock your tokens for some period, and we're going to give you incentives for it because you have improved our liquidity. If more people and more traffic comes to our exchange and they want this token, because of your contribution, we will have a lot of, we'll have a big pool of USDT to allow those people to use this token, right? So that is why you can receive incentive for it. So that is how staking works. Our previous session was on the tokenization of real world assets. That is also possible with the help of smart contracts, which makes it very easy for us to buy and sell such assets. And talking about collectibles, everyone knows what an NFT is, right? So NFT, the boom of NFT when it came, when Justin Bieber and Snoop Dogg and so many people were buying that ape picture, those ape pictures, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, it was called. So those are called collectibles. Mostly collectibles are in the form of art, but they can also be in other forms. For example, collectibles of different games, or for example, Pokemon collectibles, people gather them. So mostly they are in a hard copy, but they also have digital copies, right? So this makes the collectible market, which is a huge market, by the way, it makes it very easy to own collectibles. You can also have a collectible of a real life collectible. For example, you have an NFT that helps you provide ownership for a real life rare collectible. For example, if you are interested in Marvel or DC, you know that there are rare collectibles. So that is how this technology can be used. So advancement using smart contracts on an advanced level, decentralized exchanges are a very advanced topic, because these are huge protocols where people have power because it's completely decentralized and no central authority is in control. So whatever the community will vote for, that particular thing will happen in this exchange. All the tokens are listed in this exchange. Mostly when any company or any blockchain protocol wants to release its token, first it comes onto the decentralized exchange, because they want to show the people that we believe in this technology, in the blockchain technology, right? And therefore, we are first publishing it on a decentralized exchange. Binance is a centralized exchange. Later, when the volume increases, they later convert it to a centralized exchange for ease of other people, because not everyone knows how to use a decentralized exchange, right? So this is used to, give people more control and more access over their tokens. A DAO is called a decentralized autonomous organization, and a DAO works the same way, that every decision made on that network is done through a voting system. The people first, they're allowed to vote for that particular system by investing in the token of that system. So there's a particular token, and the DAO, this is how a DAO works, that first you have to buy that token. Buying that token means now you have power to vote for that network. And when you vote for that network, you can allow, you can, it can be powered by the community, and whatever the majority votes on, those particular features are added or removed, and those actions are taken on that particular network. When we talk about supply chain is basically the whole process from manufacturing to the company, to the distributors, to the final shops and end consumers. Whenever some goods have to be manufactured and taken through this whole process, this is the whole concept of supply chain. Now, I have heard some people in the pharmaceutical companies, that I've heard that they complain a lot that some medicines, when they reached us, we were promised this amount of medicines, but when they reached us, they were damaged, or they were opened, or they were not exactly the same in number which was promised to us. So when we put all this information on smart contracts, we are doing something very clever, because now we can see whatever is happening to a particular article as it passes through these different stages. First, those articles are released from the factory, then they go to the distributor, and every time it goes to a new organization or a new person, they have to update the status of those articles. So if they're damaged in the way, you will know right away, because they are connected to IoT devices, right? And all the statuses are being updated in real time onto the smart contracts. So this is why supply chain is being used. It's being used by some countries, like Mexico was working on it, last I heard, and more countries will shift towards it. Then comes decentralized identity, because when we talk about the blockchain network, sometimes we do need identities. Always, people cannot always be anonymous, right? So a smart contract can also represent a person, right? You can connect different wallets that you have, and you can have an identity, and that smart contract will be your identity. So what will this do? This will improve the interactions if you have to publicly show yourself. And since the blockchain network is a public network, a decentralized identity is very helpful in some cases. Then comes oracles. Oracles are smart contracts that are powered by people who want to give real live information to the blockchain network. For example, if you want to know what the real price of USD is currently, Blockchain is a network that is isolated from the rest of the other networks that we know of. So to get this accurate information, Oracle smart contracts are set up in which a lot of people give a particular value, and that value, an average is taken, and that value can be used as an API system to be integrated with other smart contracts, so we can have better, accurate information on our smart contracts.
Thank you everyone for being a part of this session today. Do leave your comments below if you have any questions, and feel free to become a part of the Vanar community by accessing the link in the description below. And please do like, subscribe, and share this video so it can reach more Web3 enthusiasts like yourself. See you next time.